1 Corinthians chapter 16 is the last chapter in this letter that Paul wrote to the Corinthians. And chapter 15 was really long, but chapter 16 is short and sweet, and it's just kind of Paul's final chapter, and he's sort of wrapping up his letter to the Corinthians. He's got one more question to answer that they had probably asked them in their letter to him. In verse 1, he says, "Now regarding that question about the money being collected for God's people in Jerusalem." So there was a famine in Jerusalem, and so many of the other churches were collecting money and supporting their brothers and sisters in Christ who lived back there in Jerusalem and were undergoing hardships. And here's what he tells them. He says, "You should follow the same procedure I gave to the churches in Galatia. On the first day of each week, you should each put aside a portion of the money you've earned. Don't wait until I get there and then try to collect it all at once." And now this is, I think, interesting for us today in our church today, that I hope you're a giver at your local church, and your giving should be regular. It shouldn't be something that you do, sort of once in a while. It should be just a regular thing. I think that's what he's pointing out here, is just make it a regular spiritual habit. Make sure that giving is a regular spiritual habit in your life. Okay, now he's going to give some final instructions here, and I'll let you read this on your own, but I love what it says right here in verses 13 and 14. Paul just can't help but be Paul, and he's going to be very pastoral here. He says, "Be on guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, and do everything with love." I love that. Boy, that's a great verse right there to write down on an index card and keep with you. Memorize that one because it's as true today as it was a couple thousand years ago when Paul first penned those words to the believers in Corinth. And then as we scroll a little bit further down, Paul's final greetings, it says in verse 20, "All the brothers and sisters here send greetings to you. Greet each other with a sacred kiss." And then in verse 21, it says, "Here is my greeting in my own handwriting, Paul." And so probably what was happening here is Paul is writing this letter through a scribe. He's narrating it to a scribe. But probably what I envision here is now he grabs the quill and he actually writes this out in his own handwriting, almost as if to say, this is authentic. It really is from me, and you can take it to the bank and you can trust it. So you're ready to read chapter 16 and finish up 1 Corinthians. And then tomorrow we'll get into the letter of 2 Corinthians, which was Paul's follow-up letter to this one.